Welcome to Lost Sheep Found. I'm your host, Carrie, and I'm so excited to finally share my story with you. My hope is that by sharing my journey, others may find comfort knowing they are not alone. Also, I want to take a moment to inform you that this episode contains explicit language, discussions about sensitive topics related to religion, personal struggles, drug use, suicide, and other stories that may trigger strong emotions. If you're experiencing a crisis or mental health challenge, please seek guidance from a qualified professional.
Don't have a dime to my name, and my debt to you could never be repaid. When the heat wave starts.
Welcome back to part 2 of Carrie's story. If you haven't listened to part 1, please go back now, as we are going to continue her journey of being a lost sheep found. Now that you're continuing brokenhearted, you've lost your mother, your dad's MIA.
Yeah.
And next step is trying to create a new norm within your day-to-day for your boys and the community and around with friends and neighbors. So tell me a little bit about what's your day-to-day as
our neighborhood that we live in, the kids are all pretty much around the same age. You know, some are a couple years older than my oldest. And just moving into this neighborhood, it was like the first people I met across the street. I mean, we were coming here for a house inspection and she's like, "You moving in?" And she's like, "Do you want to come in for some coffee?" You know, which freaked Andrew out because he did not come from that neighborhood. We did not come from that neighborhood before. Like, we kept to ourselves. He always says, like, don't let your neighbors know your schedule. They'll steal your tools, which is pretty funny because we do steal each other's tools now, but we ask first.
In a nice way.
Yeah, they know our garage code. We definitely have built a family of neighbors, you know, experiencing the losses, experiencing issues with our parents, you know, and being there to support one another. So we have become very close. The neighbors across the street, you know, with Andrew's schedule, he's gone for 24 hours at a time or longer, you know, if he gets sent away on a fire or whatever. And my neighbor and her husband, her husband became my second husband. And if I ever needed anything, I remember one night I had gone over there and I came back home and my front door was locked. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, my kids are inside. And I did not know how that front door got locked. I went over to him. I'm like, "Can you please come over and battle any bad people that are in my house right now? Because the door is locked. I came out that door. How did it get locked?" He came over. It was the funniest thing, searching around my house and everything. The dog locked the door. The crazy ass dog we had at the time locked the door. But he was my go-to. If Andrew wasn't here, this guy was my go-to. And he, we would do happy hours in the middle of the street, the kids running wild. And, you know, one year he dressed up as Andrew for Halloween. It was the funniest shit. Literally, I gave him a fire shirt, a t-shirt to wear, stuffed his belly. He got a bald cap. It was funny. It was so hilarious. I think that was my last memory of him.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being a little bit envious when we were sitting in the bleachers with the boys' t-ball, and I'd be like, "Wait, you live on that street too? Yeah. Oh wait, you too? You live on that street?" I'm like, "Well, that's a fun street to live on."
Yeah. We were a fun street. Yeah, and he coached the boys. Mm-hmm. He was a coach in the t-ball. But yeah, we definitely got very lucky with this neighborhood. It was a very fun neighborhood until it wasn't a fun neighborhood. Until it wasn't.
Yeah. And let's tell us a little bit about what happened.
So my second husband, unfortunately battled alcoholism, and he had fallen off the wagon, and he made some poor choices, and, they have young kids. My friend, is trying to navigate all of this again with us supporting them, as family. They are our family, and we will do whatever we can to support them through this time in their lives. And Unfortunately, my friend decided he could not battle anymore, this demon. And on his birthday, he decided that was it, and he ended up killing himself. I remember being home that day and my friend calling me like, I can't find him. I can't find him. Me trying to call Andrew. I mean, like my friend's trying to like track his credit card usage through the bank. And she got the call from, or she found, he went to a hotel. And she had gotten on the phone with the cops and they said he had died. Immediately, Andrew gets on the phone because he knows people at this police department in this city and like, get us information right now. Get us information. The timing of this was like the kids were coming home from school. Like they're in a carpool. Like, what the fuck? Like, it was kind of like a dream.
I was going to say, that's how I'm hearing this, and it's just like panic and turmoil, and I guess what you least expect to be going when you wake up that day of what's going to happen.
Yeah. So I had picked up the kids from school. Immediately their children were asking like where their parents were, and how do you keep a straight face? How do you not just break down bawling? Andrew immediately made contact with a group called TIP, and it's the Trauma Intervention Program. And it's a group of volunteers that when there is a traumatic death in home, drug overdose, usually law enforcement or first responders call them to come to a scene. And they provide emotional first aid to the victim's family, whoever witnesses it, So, well, it didn't happen at our house. He just reached out directly to this group, and he had these wonderful, amazing ladies come who were going to be with us as we told the kids, his kids, that their dad had passed away.
Can't even imagine.
Just horrible. So we walk into their house, and the older daughter knows something's not right. Like, where's my dad? Where's my mom? And we're trying to keep everyone at bay, but I can tell that something's not right. My oldest, Dean, is very good about also seeing that something is not right. But it's like, we'll deal with I'm going to deal with my family later. Let's deal with their family now. So my neighbor gets home. She is a wreck. We walk in. Well, it's his birthday. There's presents wrapped, sitting on the table. We have to tell these little children that their dad has passed away. To tell somebody, I can't even imagine, somebody having to tell my boys that one of us have passed away. I can't even imagine. So sitting there with these two random strangers, these two random volunteers to help facilitate this and give us the words and to help guide us, because we can't just say your dad killed himself, because the kids are not all age appropriate. So we said it one way, and then I know my friend was able to explain it age appropriately to the daughter and to the middle son. And the youngest son, I just remember watching him and just him not grasping it, and kind of fake cried. We talked about it after, and she's like, he was fake crying. I'm like, yeah, I saw that, because he was so young and he never experienced death. Mm-hmm. My boys have at least experienced someone dying that they love.
Which is completely different when you have someone that, was battling a disease and older.
Which again, versus, because of their ages, they did not necessarily realize he was battling alcoholism.
Right.
And I know obviously now that she's talked more about that with them and everything, but at that time they did not know the extent of his battle.
Which is completely understandable.
Yes.
Just takes it to another complicated level of explanation.
Yeah, so Andrew and I were there with them. Our boys were at another neighbor's house because again, we're family. So now we are in like protection mode, comfort mode, and us having to tell them that this person who they saw as a family member has passed, has made a decision that they cannot take back. Mm-hmm. We were completely honest with our children because that's how we raise our children. We do not hide it. We didn't tell them how he did it, but we told them that he chose to end his life and he could not take back that decision.
How did your kids and Andrew, how did you guys all deal with that?
Andrew, being a man, I think tried to be very stoic, but I definitely knew it through him. Somebody his age, a good friend, somebody that he's saw as like he knew how close he was to me as like my second husband. You know, we joke that he was my second husband. Like, even though we hadn't lived here for decades, like that's how close we all became when we moved into this neighborhood.
How many years had it been?
It was 5 years.
5 years. That's a good amount of time. Especially when you have, the same aged kids doing the same thing, carpools, same sports, just holidays together.
Life as, parents of young kids.
And it brings you close.
Yeah. So when he passed away on his birthday of all days, that hit us. And both Andrew and I pretty much came together and were like, let's go to church. Like, we felt after that, like we needed God in our lives.
Yeah.
The trials. So this was my second trial, I guess, having to go through this. But this is unbelievable. I can't believe this has happened. We need hope. Maybe we needed hope in our life. That's how maybe I'm seeing it. I'd be curious to see how Andrew thinks about it. But I felt like we needed hope.
And you both just kind of looked at each other in agreement. Like,
yeah, it was really
to go back
weird.
To church.
Yeah, we need to go to church.
We need to go to church.
We never went together.
Right. You need to go to church with the heartbreak of your mom, and then now this startling, suicide.
Yes.
That, if you or anyone has gone through this, I mean, I have some insight. There's a ripple effect of just the hurt and the pain that it can cause. So you guys look at each other and you're like, we need to go to church.
Yeah. Like, I think we were both feeling a little bit lost. And why did it affect us both that way? Like my mom's death didn't make me... I think I felt lost with my mom, but it wasn't to where...
Well, and you were also going through your own cancer journey that we didn't even touch on between that time.
Yeah. So that January, I had been diagnosed with thyroid cancer. If you get a cancer, that's the one you want. That's what they all told me. But I had a total thyroidectomy. I had 5 tumors.
5.
Totally encapsulated though, like I didn't spread, they were all encapsulated, but I did the thyroidectomy, and then I had to wait, and then I did radioactive iodine pills, and now I take medicine. But I did pray while I was going through, like I would have to do scans, not like PET scans, but they would scan for if there was any tissue lingering in my body, and they had to do a scan to see how much of the radioactive iodine pill dosage I needed. So, but I remember praying, like, can you just clear this out, Lord? Like, I'm a young mom. I've lost my mom. Like, I don't need this shit. Mm-hmm. Like, let's just do this. But yeah, that didn't bring me back.
Didn't think at that point.
No. Again, I was just asking for, just watch out, like, heal me. Heal me. I'm not going to give you anything. Just heal me.
Right. Here's my list today.
Yes. If you could do this, I would appreciate it. So we started going to church. We would have the boys go to church. They were doing youth group. They went every Wednesday, and they would do Sunday school with the kid groups and stuff. And yeah, we were doing it. We were going every Sunday. If Andrew was working on a Sunday, I would still go with the boys. I was definitely learning. I was starting to learn religion through new eyes and not through the eyes I had in high school, right? If that makes sense.
You're looking at, like, you need the hope. So you were open to receiving without thinking about having to be a certain way.
Yes.
Like in high school, you had to do it a certain way to be accepted, but this is giving you a new hope.
A new hope,
Hopefully.
healing.
Hopefully hope,
healing, maybe. Like some guidance. Like, what can I do to stop having these, or like, what can I do to
ease the pain,
or maybe not have to go through these things? Maybe if I do something different, I won't experience these trials. Does that make sense?
Maybe. Or at least a way to cope with them.
Yes.
Right? A way to, if you're going to deal with these things, at least have a feeling of hope by your side that won't make these things so unbearable.
Exactly.
Where are you guys at as a couple and as a family?
As a couple, we're doing religion together, but we're going on Sundays. We go to this, they have a dinner like once a month called Together, so we're like involving ourselves more in church activities. One thing that came up for me was they offered, so that fall following the loss of our neighbor, they were offering a women's Bible study. And I do not do women. I do not do Bible studies. But I felt that I needed to do this. I took a chance. I channeled my inner adventurous side and I said, okay, I'm going to do this. It was like during the week after work. And I remember going, it was called Steadfast Love. And I think it was the second time I went. I had this overwhelming, it was during worship, and I had this overwhelming feeling of comfort. It was comfort, but I started bawling. And I felt like all that pain and hurt I had been feeling from my mom's death, from my neighbor's death, from dealing with my dad and his depression and his issues. I felt like somebody was hugging me. It was the weirdest feeling. I was brought to my knees. I was bawling like a baby. People were looking at me. They were judging me, I'm sure, which is why I don't like women's groups. But I excused myself and I went to the bathroom but the tears were still coming. But I went back out there and it was like a game changer for me. From that moment on, I felt my soul being healed. I can't explain, just that session, it was a healing for my soul. That's all I can think about. The front of this book was an anchor and, talking about being steadfast and to anchor yourself to God through the storms. My problem was, and I realized that through this Bible study, was I was anchoring myself to my dad. And that was making me drown. I needed to anchor myself to God. And from that point on, the anchor has become my life symbol. I see anchors everywhere. It's freaking bonkers. Funny story was that same year for Christmas, Andrew's like, you're going to die when you see what my mom got you for Christmas. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you'll just see, and you're going to flip out. His mom didn't know I was doing this Bible study, didn't know I had accepted this anchor as my life symbol, got me an anchor, a wooden anchor. It's hanging in my hall. It's a wooden planked anchor thing, decoration for my wall.
Very cool.
What?
Very cool.
So trippy. So during that, it was definitely healing for my soul. I was starting the healing process and learning truly about religion and what Christianity was about. I was learning it for the first time and learning it on my terms.
Trouble to the left of me, sorrow to the right. Can you hear me, Lord, and can you lead me to the light?
So, and this church is Andrew's brother's church, who's the pastor who married you guys.
That is correct.
And then you start going to church as a family. You decide to take a leap of faith, and you find some unexpected light in a woman's Bible study that you would think would be your
Not
never.
me. Not me.
Never. You're not going to be with women. You're not going to be vulnerable.
No.
Brings you to your knees. And what, during worship, right?
During worship.
What was the song
The
playing?
song was Yes and Amen. Go check it out. And I still love that song. So yeah, I take that Bible study, and it's a game changer for me. I start becoming more involved in the church, in the women's ministry. They don't have a women's Bible study like that for years. But I do involve myself in helping with the women's dinners and like their brunches and all that jazz, and kind of partnering with the leader of the women's ministry and just becoming more involved in that church, not just as a parishioner? What?
I don't know. What is that called?
As someone who just
Parishioner?
attends the church on Sundays, I'm doing
An attendee?
an attendee.
Attendee? I don't know.
Whatevs.
I don't know what it's
I'm
called.
getting in it. I'm getting in it.
You're rolling up your sleeves. You're feeling that.
I'm getting down and dirty in the Lord's work.
Yeah.
Like that.
You're feeling God's light. You are feeling a little more equipped to handle these trials that you've been handed in life.
Definitely.
And what's going on as far as like, where's your dad at in this?
So Dad has become more separated from us. He has gotten to a point, makes any excuse not to see us. We would make plans. He was going to come to visit us, and then the last minute say, "Oh, I'm not coming."
Oh,
And
so sad.
it was super sad. And again, because my boys love him. Like, some of my best memories are of him tickling the boys and just their laughter, you know. So I got to a point where I didn't even tell the boys if there was a possibility that we were going to see him. I didn't say anything because they were starting to get heartbroken now.
Right. That would be a
Like
fun
the
surprise
right?
versus a disappointment of expecting.
Exactly. So we started changing our strategy with that. But it did get to a point where we would even go out there, and he would meet us at his cousin's house, wouldn't let us go to his trailer. So I started thinking that there was probably something wrong there. And even just looking at him, he was kind of disheveled, you know, maybe not necessarily taking the best care of himself. So being the sneaky person I am, we decided to do a surprise visit. And we showed up. I figured out, he did not tell us where he was living, like what trailer park in Hemet. There are a lot of trailer parks in Hemet, by the way.
Is there?
There is, if you didn't know. But I ended up finding out through my detective skills. And so I figured out what trailer park he was at. We waited because it was a gated, go figure, trailer park. Waited for somebody to pull up. We followed that person, you know, had the boys, everything in my car. Had his cousin in my car because she had never been. And she only lived a couple
Do you just have an address or?
Yes.
Okay.
So, but I know what type of truck he has. I know his trailer, or Andrew knew his trailer. So, like, drove the aisles.
Just looking.
Looking for his trailer. Found it. Knockety knock, knock, knock on the door. And opened up the door, and I am, like, immediately disgusted. And it's so sad to say. My dad smoked his whole life. And, you know, it was just, you could, like, the walls were like yellow with nicotine. There was trash everywhere. Like, he would get food and just throw the trash on the ground or in his vicinity. There were some areas of the trailer that had never been used. Like, it had slide outs, and on one side it was 2 recliners. Perfect condition.
Brand spanking new.
Brand spanking new, perfect condition. The sofa where he laid down every day for 23 hours a day, worn out, the carpet all dirtied and everything. There was still food in the cabinet from when he did his first cross-country adventure. So it expired. I mean, it was cans. It wasn't like, you know, bread or anything. But my dad, that's what made me so sad. My dad was an amazing cook and, like, never used the stove.
Of the
Never.
trailer.
No.
Not once.
Not once. It was the weirdest thing. The boys went inside the trailer. I was like, we are going to have to like hazmat clean them after this.
I mean, at this point, are you thinking like he's super depressed?
He's super depressed. He is probably now ashamed with how he's living. Unfortunately, I feel this has been an accumulation for I don't even know how many years. So we say our goodbyes, and I've already, in my mindset, I am coming back after buying every chemical at Home Depot, and I am going to clean this trailer. I'm going to come back without my family, and I'm going to spend the weekend cleaning his shit. And that's exactly what I did. The next week, I came back, did not tell him I was coming back. I showed up with my smiley, dimply face, like, here I am. I'm going to clean you and get you back up and running. Because I feel like there's still hope. Like, if I can clean your zone, like clean your house, maybe that'll take one less thing that you have to worry about, and it will give you enough of an incentive to
want to venture back into our lives again, or his own life again.
Yeah. So
was he shocked when you opened the door and you were there?
He was.
Yeah.
He was. But
did he let you all in per se?
The first time? Yes. I think he realized he had no choice. Like, I had gone to extreme lengths to find him.
Right.
So I think he knew he was going to lose this battle. He knew he was going to lose the battle when I showed up with all the shit to clean.
The cleaning products.
I should have known this was not going to make a change, because while I stayed there for 10 hours, scrubbing everything down, cleaning the bathroom, he laid on that fucking sofa.
The whole time?
The whole fucking time. The whole time.
Not like, hey, let me help.
Not even to sit outside. The fumes are getting to me. All the bleach shit you're using is getting to me. Let me go outside for some fresh air. Like, I had burned, my nostril hair. Like, I was using some strong shit to clean. And he laid on that sofa the whole time. I was disgusted. I was saddened. I was pissed off. I told him I was going to call APS on him, because Andrew's like, yeah, I would. He's not taking care of himself. Like, he had this round Tupperware container of medications. He was not taking any of his medications. He had psychiatric medications he wasn't taking. He had heart medications, like blood pressure medications he wasn't taking. He wasn't taking care of himself. Obviously, he wasn't eating the best. And I'm like, how are you eating? He gives people money from the trailer park to go get him food.
This was before Uber Eats.
Right.
Yeah. Do you ever ask him, why are you living like this? Or did he ever, defend himself a why? Or
I would be like, Dad, this is not okay. I know it's not. But in his brain, I'm not a mental health person, but I know just the depression. He was done. When my mom passed away, that was it. He was done. And I think by not taking care of himself, by not going to the doctors and telling everybody else that he was going to doctors or he was lying to people. He was lying to people that loved him, that would check on him. But it was me actually finding out and me telling the truth, and he did not like that. When people would approach me and say, well, your dad said this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, that is not true. So he was getting called out too by others. But I really started working because I felt I was doing it all. Like, I'm trying to help you and I'm failing. And I remember talking to one of the pastors, and he brought up a verse, and I actually looked it up, and it's Galatians 6:2-12. So if you want to read the whole thing, look that up. But it says, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you fulfill the law of Christ. But then it goes down and says, for each one should carry their own load. So I'm like, okay, we're supposed to carry each other's burdens. And the pastor's like, well, no, that's not what it's saying. To help to carry the burden is to offer support or whatever. But he's not even willing to carry any of his load. He can't expect you, and you shouldn't be expected to carry his entire load.
Right.
So, because I felt like I was failing. by not being able to do more, or not like fix him or, whatever, or be out there all the time. Again, I still have young kids. Mm-hmm. And again, my sister is doing jack shit.
Not around.
So that actually helped me when I went and talked to the pastor, because I'm like, I don't know what to do. I just cleaned his trailer and did all this, and he's not willing to do anything.
Yeah. So he's broke. He's financially. Mm-hmm. He's depressed. Well, I mean, he's drowning in his trailer.
Yes.
Just succumbed by it. And you're trying to pick up the pieces.
And not seem like a daughter who doesn't care.
I mean, what's the next step from here? So you kind of get some consulting from the church that like you're not supposed to be taking all this for him.
Yeah. So a few months after, I think it was like a month or two after I do the deep clean of the trailer, I'm at work and I get a call from my dad saying, "Hey, I'm in the hospital." "Oh, what are you in the hospital for?" "Well, I fell." I'm like, "Okay, like what's going on?" "I don't know. They want to transfer me to someplace else." And I'm like, "What?" Like,
how bad was the fall?
Yeah, how bad is, like, I'm not getting the information. It's not making sense. He's in Hemet Hospital. I'm like, okay, call me back, because I don't hear a sense of urgency. He sounds like his normal self.
Right.
And I'm like, call me back when you know more. Okay. So then I get a call from a doctor. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? So we're calling you about your dad. Yeah, okay. Do you know what happened? Oh, he fell. Yeah, no. He, one, has an abdominal aortic aneurysm, which people normally die from.
Okay.
It's a slow leak.
Like bleeding.
He's bleeding, and yeah, it's bleeding internally. And we need to life flight him to Loma Linda. But we're trying to get a surgeon to accept his case. Okay, why is it so difficult? Well, also, he tried to kill himself. I'm like, what? He fell. No, he didn't fall. So we put the pieces together is, one, because he is so sedentary and just lays on the freaking sofa. Mm-hmm. If he was probably more active, he would have died from this abdominal aortic aneurysm. But because maybe how he is, it was just a slow leak. So that was causing him pain. Did he go to the doctor? No. The pain was so much, and maybe along with the depression and everything, he took scissors and tried to cut his wrists.
Scissors.
Who
found him?
So he passes out, wakes up, calls 911. So 911 does come. And then they see this like hot mess, like, what the fuck is going on?
Does he tell him that he fell? Or
I think so. I don't even think he admits to them, but they can see there's bleeding from his wrists. He doesn't do a good job. Mm-hmm. So I can see now why somebody's questioning whether to take his case to fix the abdominal aortic aneurysm, because I don't know. So anyways, immediately I leave to drive from Orange County now to Hemet Hospital.
How old are the kids at this point?
12 and 10. And so they're at school. Of course, I think Andrew was working. So once again, relying on my neighbors to like step in and help out with the boys. So yeah, I drive out to Hemet, meet with them. Wrists are all bandaged up. He still does not know that I know.
It was more than just a fall.
It was more than just a fall.
I lift my voice, I call your name, as I toil down in this valley of strife and pain.
Just driving this whole time, I'm praying to God. And I feel horrible for praying this, but I pray for him to die. I am in religion now. I know how he's been since my mom has passed. He's not living life. He's miserable. He tried to kill himself. He tried to take himself out of this world. And he killed himself and knows that one of our good friends has committed suicide. Like,
right.
I pray for him to die. I pray for God to take him and just let it be done.
So he was scheduled for a surgery. So this is...
I mean, pretty much when he landed, he went into surgery.
Surgery right then.
So he was in surgery by the time I had gotten there.
Okay.
Because traffic was a pain in my ass. So praying that he dies. I'm sitting there by myself in the waiting room, and they update me that he's survived the surgery. And I'm like, crap. I prayed for him to die. Like, in my head, I'm like, oh, shit. Like, how is this now? I'm a horrible person. I prayed for my dad to die. Like, maybe this is the turning point. Maybe this is the game changer.
Maybe now he'll want life.
Maybe now, like, he will see he was this close. He is in the hospital in Loma Linda. He's recovering. He's still experiencing a lot of pain. There's just a lot of, like, going back and forth with him and, like, figuring out different things, like how long had that been bleeding. There was a lot of built up blood in his abdomen area, and was that causing pain? PT was trying to get in there. He was fighting with the PT people, like freaking crazy shit. So now I'm driving back and forth from South Orange County to Loma Linda, just using that time. Well, I guess I should backtrack. So after, he comes out of the surgery and everything, we go to church. And again, sitting in worship, and now I'm feeling guilty because I prayed for my dad to die and he survived. And like, how horrible am I? Like, praying for the death of her father. So I start breaking down, mental breakdown in the middle of a full-on church service. Andrew's sitting next to me. He's like, do I need to go get somebody? I'm like, yeah, you do. And the same pastor who had talked to me before about, the burdens and everything, he comes out to get me. He takes me out. I'm like, I'm going to hell. I prayed for my dad to die. And this is why I prayed for him. Like, I justified it. Like, he's not living. And he's like, Carrie, you're not going to hell. Like, you want what's best for your dad. One, God is not going, obviously, because I've talked to him about my mom, about like healing and stuff. And, God is not going to answer exactly how we want. That's one. Two, he answers on his time. And three, like, we're going through trials. Like, what am I going to learn through this trial? So he's like proposing these things to me. He calms me down, so I get over the guilt. But dealing with my dad now, it's a whole new ball game dealing with my dad compared to my mom, because during those hour car rides, I am thanking him for letting him live. I am thanking him for everyone that has been in support of my family during all of this. I am asking for guidance. I am asking for patience, because now I'm got the business hat on with my dad and being his advocate and trying to work with the social workers, work with the doctors, work with whoever is involved in my dad's care to make sure it's being handled correctly. Praying for my dad too, because he is the most aggro patient ever.
What was it like when you went to go visit him after surgery? Did they stop the bleeding enough?
They stopped the bleeding, but there was so much coagulated blood. Like, they think that was pushing on a nerve. He refused to work with PT, like physically fought them. So would not.
So they'd come in and be like, okay, get up today.
And he would like grab at them and stuff. And they're like, yeah, we're not doing that. So they stopped going to him. And Loma Linda's like, we can't keep him in the hospital for stubbornness. I go, he can't walk. Mm-hmm. He's losing so much muscle mass, he can't walk. Well, then, like, other issues would come up. This dude, not even joking, was at Loma Linda for months because he would start. So then it was like, oh, the coagulated blood is causing a bowel obstruction, because then he'd start throwing up and doing all this other stuff. And then they'd have to put an NG tube in, and then he would pull it out. And he complained about the food, because Loma Linda is Seventh-day Adventist and they don't eat certain things, and he thinks that's bullshit, and he wants me to get him Taco Bell. I'm like, dude, you are killing me. Like, so finally, even the doctor's like, ask him what he wants. He wants a Wiener Schnitzel. So he's like, get him Wiener Schnitzel. I'm like, okay, doctor's orders. Put him, like, total issues with his bowel, everything. The doctor's like, yeah, okay, we can't do that again. I'm like, no shit, Sherlock. Like, I don't have the ability to care for him at my house. Like, I have small children. He needs 24-hour care. He can't get up to go to the bathroom himself. Like, that's not going to work. There has to be, like, skilled nursing, whatever. So they finally got to a point where they did find, because, and he's not cooperating with physical therapy, like, he's getting declined. He's getting denied. Like, his behavior is not not helping.
Bad student.
He's not helping.
Bad patient.
He's being
bad
uncooperative,
patient.
and that's fucking us as well. So finally we find a place that will accept him and his poor behavior. And so he goes to a skilled nursing care, and he's there for like a week. And then, of course, I'd get a call in the middle of the night from a hospital. Your dad was brought here because he's throwing up blood. Okay.
Ugh.
So literally this goes on.
So you're driving back and forth.
Driving back and forth. The skilled nursing care was in Corona. And so, yeah, just dealing with that. The patients, I would ask for patience, and I would have it a majority of the time, but then there would be times where it's like, why aren't you fighting? I am so sorry, babe. Bunky, I'm so sorry. Like, Bunks, I know, like, I don't want to be like this. Then fucking fight.
Right.
He thought this whole time he was going to be able to go back to his trailer. He thought he was going to go back there. There's no way. You can't even get out of bed. COVID hit in March of 2020. He was in a skilled nursing care in Orange County. And Andrew and I went, we were so pissed. We went to deliver some goodies and stuff to him in the skilled nursing care. And that was the day they had closed.
That you couldn't get in.
Couldn't get in. Never saw him in person.
Really? Did he have a phone? Were you able to?
I was able to call him. We gotten to a point because now I can't deliver, or I could deliver things to him. So I would deliver special treats. Like I would deliver things from the boys. I would send books. He would ask me. So now Uber is a big thing. So he'd be like, can you Uber food? Like the last voicemail, the voicemail that I have saved for him is like, so yeah, if you could order me, it's like a food order.
I was going to see if you could order my dinner for me from Panda Express. I think the orange chicken and some cream cheese rangoon and in a orange lemonade. I'd appreciate it if you can. If not, what the hell? I'll talk to you later, babe.
How much longer after that message did you have with your dad?
He died in August of 2020, 3 days before his birthday. I get a call from the nursing care saying he's not doing good. Do you want to FaceTime him? Dean was at his buddy's house, and Sam was outside because it was his friend's birthday. And they were having a street party. I get a call, and it's my dad on FaceTime. He is totally, I recognize the breathing, like he's not going to be around long. And I call Sam in. I'm like, you need to come say goodbye to your dad, your grandpa. I get Dean on speakerphone, and I'm like, can you just talk through the phone? And like he reacted, which was so hard. But as soon as we hung up, he passed away. And the one thing that like I grieved, this sounds so bad. I was so happy he was gone because he was done. He was done years before that when my mom passed. So I was so thankful, like, one, my prayer was finally answered. But the thing that was hardest was that I was an orphan and I didn't have any parent now. I was, 44. I had no parents. I don't have a sister. Like, I have no family. And so that was the hardest thing about my dad dying. It was like, that was my last
Link.
last link.
Family.
You know, and I was talking to Dean about this one night. I go, he's like, were you sad when Grandpa died? I go, I was sad in that I had no family. And Dean's like, but we're your family. And I go, I know you are, but it's different. Like, I have no, like, my origin is gone. So I know I have a family. I have family that is not blood. I have you guys. I have so many other people that are in my life that I've chosen and have chosen to be in my life. And those are my family. So he's with my mom now. I kind of felt freed too from having, like, I didn't.
He's at peace.
He's at peace.
And with your mom.
Yeah.
Is a beautiful, perfect scenario.
Yes.
They have each other back again.
Yeah.
How do you reclaim and focus and regroup, within the church?
So we're still going to church during that time, despite COVID, because my church is a rebel. But one thing that happens is a new Bible study is started. And so this is the first Bible study since that original
one.
Bible study. And it's like the timing couldn't be more perfect. It literally starts like a couple weeks after my dad passes. Again, don't like groups of women.
Only a few lucky of us out here.
Right? And I'm concerned because I'm like, did I put such high hopes on a Bible study? Like, that first one did so much for me. Like, am I going to be let down? And am I willing to take that risk? And the answer is yes, I am willing to take that risk. And I actually think I even changed my work schedule to have it to where I can attend, because it is in the morning time. So I changed my work schedule.
Like Tuesdays or Thursdays in the mornings at 10 or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think I actually made that effort to actually attend it. Again, just something inside me is driving me like, you need to do this. First day I show up, and the small group leader, is this peppy person, and just like, welcome. And, we go around and introduce yourself. And it's like, I'm Carrie. I don't do women, and I'm not going to cry. And joke's on me, because I was bawling like a baby by the end of that first time. The group of women that were brought together for that Bible study, and even Bible studies after, were just an amazing group of women, all broken in some way. One of my good friends I've developed a friendship with from that study, she had just lost her two parents. So having somebody actually be able to sympathize with what I was actually going through. And she is somebody that has been in the church from day one. Like, that's how she was raised. Her mom was, deep in the church. So just to see like how she worked it with her faith, did she question things? Yeah. And she'll admit that, like, she questions things. And to have somebody be honest and not be like, oh, nope, everything's great because I have God. It's like, no, we question things. Like, this is shitty. This is shitty what we've gone through. Why did I have to deal with my mom? Why did I have to deal with my neighbor's suicide? Like, what were you trying to prove to me? And the lessons that I've learned from each of those, like, really started to show themselves through this Bible study. Like, look, this is why you went through that.
Yeah.
And this is how you've changed because of that, So it was really
insightful,
a very insightful study. And to know that we were all brought together for that purpose.
During COVID.
When
no one's allowed to touch each other, like, breathe on each other.
It was August, again, we were a bunch of badass women, like, telling it how it is, being true Christians. Like, we're not perfect. We're perfectly imperfect. I curse like a sailor. God has given me this colorful vocabulary.
I love that.
Like, come on. But we weren't ashamed. We weren't shy to express our frustrations. We weren't afraid to discuss our doubts about certain things. And we weren't afraid to explore things more and to learn deeper. I mean, I really started to be able to study things on my own. And like, if I had a question, like, oh, let me go look in the Bible for this, or let me look up something else on this. I really learning how to study and really learning how to apply it to my life. Or I don't know. That sounds stupid.
No, not at all. I mean, you're using the Bible and this group that help each other heal and through faith.
Yeah. And we're constantly going through, like, once we found this group or whatever, or once I found this group, it's like life isn't perfect. Like, I still have struggles. Andrew's had health issues, and it's like, okay, Jesus, really? God? Like, come on. But again, using those times to go to him, to be like, I need help. It taught me, I know when Andrew was going through his spinal fluid leak, like, being okay to ask for help. Like, Carrie, can we do a meal train for you? Before, me, where I'm like, nope, all's good. We got it handled, and finally being like, yes, I will accept that. And that doesn't make me weak.
Tell us more about your journey with this Bible study.
So the women's ministry has always been very low key at the church. And I think once this group of ladies, or once this session started, like a new group of ladies came in and were like, we need more of a women's ministry. We need to do more activities. Like the men's ministry, they have like every other week, Saturday breakfast, and they do motorcycle rides, and they do this. And it's like, whoa, back off. Like, come on. So we started to do more things involving the women's ministry, or building up the women's ministry more. So like we started doing bunco. Of course, we do like a women's Christmas dinner. We do a summer book club. It seems like we're trying to hype it up. We started doing a walking group once a month, which some people don't like to get up early, but whatever. But we're trying, we're trying to get the women's ministry to be a little bit more bigger. It's hard though, because I think a lot of people have a certain idea of how women's ministry is, and that's why I didn't like to be involved in women's ministry. But I definitely think times are changing, and we're definitely like more real. You are. I am.
You are, and you're in your group, right?
Yes. But even like with the bunco, I do the emceeing for the bunco, and just hearing people laugh, and like I'm very sarcastic, and I don't take things too seriously, and I think that's definitely needed. Like Christianity can be fun. We can have a good time. We can make fun of things. I think that's been a game changer, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback about that.
And you had a funny story that you were telling me about, was it Mad Libs or
the Christmas dinner? Like last year, I was emceeing, and we did like some pre-games of Mad Libs, and Mad Libs, you pick a noun and you just throw out a word, and then at the end you put it all together, and it's a funky, goofy story. And this one group of ladies was like, they never had done Mad Libs, which I'm flabbergasted, but they were like trying to make it perfect. And I'm just like, nope, just pick a word, like throw out whatever word comes out. And I was harassing these ladies. Well, it turns out it was the table of widows. And I felt like crap. Like, oh my gosh, I was ragging on this table. Like, I was just ladies. Like, no cheating, like, come on, be original, just totally harassing them. And then afterwards, somebody's like, that was the table of widows. And I'm like, oh, yeah, like, that's not good. Like, they must be so, I must be so lonely and sad. How dare I
just
make fun of them.
Night.
Make fun of them. But then I got so many of them coming up after saying they had such a fun night, and they just laughed so much. And that's how God uses me. I make fun of people, and I make people laugh.
The realness is appreciated. So anything else in that Bible study, did it go on for like a month, 2 months?
It's usually like 8 to 10 weeks.
Okay.
So just over 2 months.
It's a while.
Yeah.
So during that time, you found, what did it teach you as far as just...
Well, one, it taught me that Peter is my spirit animal, because he's like the bad boy of the disciples, and like will brawl and stuff. And
I had no idea.
Yeah, he's the bad boy of the disciples. So I'm like, wow, I thought all the disciples were like perfect and did no wrong because that's what they told me in school. Like everyone was perfect. But no, people were human and people were not perfect. So that's one thing I learned. Another thing I learned was it was weird because, again, was about trials. And one of the studies was about trials and tribulations. And I was trying to find it, but James talks a lot about trials and tribulations. To go through trials, the character, the patience, the character building, the strength, and the maturing that we do as people, that comes from trials. How do we learn anything without being tested? Mm-hmm. How do you know what your limit is without being tested? I have learned my limit is very, very high. No, it's not sometimes. But the growth, the patience I have learned, like with my dad, just dealing with his BS and being...
And don't you think just giving up control?
Giving up control. There was nothing I could do. I tried bribing him. Like, there was a lot of fails, you know, like, oh, if I do this, he'll do this, and trial and error. Like, I finally was like, why am I even trying this? Because it's not going to...
He doesn't want it.
Like, he doesn't want it. So I had to give up the control. I had to put my faith in the doctors. I had to put my faith in God. Like, it was being handled. Nothing I can do could change it.
And so as this Bible study kind of comes to the end, is there any changes that you feel within yourself or you feel God is leading you to do?
So definitely this podcast. For the last year, I've been feeling it in my heart. Like somebody is saying, like, you should do this podcast. You should set up a podcast. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, no, I cannot do this. I don't have what it takes. And then I'd try to push it to the back. And then again, it would pop in like first thing in the morning, like I'm taking a shower, like, oh, this would be a good name for a podcast. And I'm like, shoot. And I would write it down and I'm like, okay, yeah, not going to happen. And then it would pop up again. Like I'm at work, like random times. And so I like started doing little things and found the domain. It was available. So I bought it. I got the Gmail name or the email, and, you know, things have been coming together. And then when I got some confirmation from some people, like, yeah, this has potential. Like, let's move forward. And putting that self-doubt aside and saying, okay, I'm going to do this. Like everything is coming together. You know, when I approached the subject with you, you're like the first person that's like, I want to help.
Yeah, you're definitely strongly, you know, guided towards this, and it all just seemed to make sense. So I was like, if I can help.
And you were the first person. Everyone else was like, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, great. Good job. Can't wait to hear it. And you're like, no. Like, it just everything that needed to be in place has been in place.
Now, did you get baptized during the end of that Bible study?
It was
during
after that Bible study.
It was after the Bible study.
Yeah. So I finally had gotten to a point where I was like, I'm like a new person. Like everything that I've gone through has gotten me to this point. And I was like, I'm going to be baptized, like on my terms. So I asked my brother-in-law who married us, and he said he totally would do that. So I had my sister-in-law there. I had my boys there, my husband there. And then one or two people from the Bible study showed up to my friend's house, and I was baptized in her jacuzzi on April 16th, 2023.
Which is located on your forearm.
Which is tattooed on my forearm with a cross, just to let it remind me. And then on my opposite forearm, I have an anchor. So I'm constantly reminded and constantly reassured and comforted.
And with that anchor, is there a special verse that you tend to tie it into, or?
Well, there is a verse that does talk about the anchor, but I always joke that I can't be a very good Christian because I only know one Bible verse. I only have one Bible verse memorized, and that's John 3:16. But I do have a verse that goes with the anchor.
Okay.
And it is Hebrews 6:19. This hope we have as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast, in which enters the presence behind the veil. I think the anchor is hope. Like I put my hope in Jesus and God.
And that first Bible study, which was...
Yeah, steadfast love. I
Steadfast
stay
love.
steadfast and anchored to God.
As you can look back and see the lessons and see the different, spots you were and where you were lost. And then these Bible studies would bring you back.
Yeah.
And
the trials.
Mhm.
I mean, the trials, too, bringing me back. Did my mom passing away bring me back? No. But maybe that was my baseline. I saw how I was during that trial. And then with my neighbor dying, that was I don't know.
emergency 911. You need
Yes,
to get
you need to go.
Get right.
You need to get right. You need help.
Or to help to search for something else, to find hope, find love, find
hope.
guidance.
I think it's the find
comfort,
hope. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then just dealing with my dad.
which made you kind of process the giving up control.
Yeah.
And listening. The quiet time to listen.
Mm-hmm.
When the tears we've cried have all run dry and we find the rainbow's end, we'll be walking in the sunshine, walking in the sunshine, walking in the sunshine with him.
Amazing to see this transformation and the time and where you're at now. How do you feel about faith and teaching your children?
So they stopped going to church. I do not force them to go. I think Dean went up until COVID. And Lincoln went with him on a couple of trips. Maybe it was the last time they got scabies.
Oh my gosh.
And Catalina.
I was like, Lord, are you trying to get these people away from your flock? You go to church camp and come back with scabies. Then the whole family's scared of scabies. Then we're all just looping up lotion going, Bible school was fun this summer.
It was great. So I do not make them go anymore. But I do hope that I do actually make them go on the major holidays though. So I do make them do that. But I hope that they see how I am, that I'm still real. I still curse, but I am a religious person. I believe in God. I trust in him. I talk to him. I pray to him. They see how their dad is with church. They see us doing church together and religion together. So I hope they do see that as a authentic
role model.
Exactly.
Of how you can still be real and still have faith.
Yeah. Yes.
I love that. I mean, I have one child that asks to go to church and I have one that will not. So, I just feel like it's their journey and it will come based upon their trials and tribulations. All you can do is just be honest that you believe and let it be their journey as it was yours. You can't be told. Some people it comes easier than others. Exactly. But until you have that true, authentic connection that can't be made to happen, it's got to happen unfold on its own.
Yeah. And do I want them to have to go through trials on their own to help them figure it out? Obviously not, but I know how much it helped me to get to this point. And if that's what's going to have to happen, then that's what's going to have to happen. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it's not too bad. But
So thank you, Carrie, for sharing your story. I know it's the first of many in this podcast to come.
But what I do want to put a call out there too is I know this is just my story. I know other people have stories that are a lot more intense or whatever, or they may be even smaller, but what brought you back? We want to hear those stories, and we don't want you to be afraid to share, because your story may help somebody else. I know when I tell people my story, whether at work or whatever, they're like, that's amazing, you should share that story. So
it's authentic, it's genuine. What road got you here is a genuine, authentic story that could be like somebody else's, but everyone has their unique journey, and we just want to hear those details of what made you believe.
And you can share it anonymously. If you don't want to share your name, don't share your name. You can send it to us in a typed format or on a voice recording, and we can share it that way. We would just want to hear from people and share journeys that may help other people that may be lost right now.
Oh, mercy me, oh, mercy mine. 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 Oh, mercy me, oh, mercy mine.